All right.
Hey, everybody. Happy Friday and welcome into Business Salad, where we mix up all things business for you for free.
Absolutely. I am Katie and this is Steph and we are your hosts. And today we are excited to talk to you guys on this wonderful Friday about life insurance and really 7 super simple reasons that everybody needs it. Things that sometimes we don't think about or things we kind of need to put in front of ourselves when it comes to life insurance. So we're going to go over 7 things real quick that are good for everyone to know.
Yep, absolutely. This is your reminder because we do oftentimes in our jobs run across people all the time who don't have life insurance, wish they had life insurance, all of that. So, this is your reminder. And I think to kick off this 7 simple reasons, we are going to start with the very most obvious one of all, which I think is what most people think about when they think about getting life insurance, and that's to cover your burial expenses.
Mhm.
So remember that even a very basic funeral service can run upwards of thousands of dollars. They are expensive. And while it's possible to prepay for your funeral expenses, it's not something people usually think of.
Mhm.
And generally, it's not always the best thing to do. So, life insurance can give you and your beneficiaries a little bit more of a guarantee, lifting that final expense burden. Because remember, even if you want to take Uncle Joe and cremate him and throw him into the ocean, there's a cost associated with that. We're not going to backyard barbecue Uncle Joe.
Oh my
So that's your
goodness.
simple, that's your simple number one.
There you go. Absolutely. Number 2 is something I think that, sometimes is important for us to realize just responsibility wise for ourselves is dealing with debt. And the fact is, so many people, so many of us, whether it's our mortgage or our car notes or our credit cards or whatever it might be, according to CNBC, over the average American has actually over $90,000 of debt total. And talking about lumping it all together, what do they have? And really getting life insurance is a way to make sure that in addition to burial costs and responsibilities being handled there, that when it comes to our debt, we're not passing that debt off to our family members or our spouses. And that's just one thing that you're not wanting them to have to deal with, as well as everything else they're going through. So life insurance is always for the other people, the people that you care about. Number 3 that we had is something that I think, it's good to think about when it comes to being responsible for ourselves, is thinking about lost income. And one of the questions that we often ask people is really, what would happen if all of a sudden you didn't have an income or you weren't working? And this is the extreme level of that. What would happen if all of a sudden you were to pass away and there was just a stop in that flow of income? What would happen to all of the bills? And if you take a second and we think about, okay, well, there was burial costs and then there's the debt. And then all of a sudden we think, well, wait a minute, what about the fact that there was income coming in and now there's not? So one of the reasons that people should really think about life insurance is, on top of those things we mentioned already, is the idea that if you're a breadwinner for your family or even a dual income family and your income matters to continue that lifestyle, you want to make sure that you have life insurance in place for that reason. So that's going to be that replacing that lost income, right?
Yeah,
Mhm.
absolutely. And I think to piggyback off of that, another thing that's really important to think about is if you're a stay at home parent, there's a value to that. You have to think about how much it costs to run a household, the financial management of that household, meal prep, education for children, all of that. And there are studies that have shown that the equivalent salary for a stay at home parent could be almost $180,000 a year. I mean, that's a significant chunk. And I think a lot of times when people think about managing the expense and the finances after the death of a spouse, they don't necessarily think about what it's going to cost beyond the debt, beyond the burial, all of that. You have, now daycare may come into play.
Mhm.
You've got education to think about that could be there. So there's just so much. And that life insurance can help to cover those costs and reduce the financial effects of whoever the remaining widow is there.
Absolutely. And Steph, that I was thinking about that because that's so important when you think about the fact that, let's say I've had one child in daycare and the daycare cost was between $1,000 and $1,300 a month. If I had 2 children or 3 children or 4 children in daycare, because I wasn't able to, let's say, if I was a stay-at-home mom and I was handling that responsibility, and all of a sudden I needed to go off to work and pay for daycare. I mean, these is very, very important to think about. So I think you're right. People don't always think about, what about the stay-at-home mom, the value of what she does financially for the family. And that's huge.
Absolutely.
So
Especially with the daycare costs now getting to the point where they're equivalent, like you said, to a mortgage. You
yeah,
know, for some people, that's rent, that's mortgage. And yes,
absolutely.
they do multi-pay discounts, but you know, that $75 a month isn't going to save you a whole lot.
Yeah,
So
for sure, for
when
sure.
it's
You
thousands,
know,
you know,
yeah, absolutely. The two that we want to mention, sort of kind of jumping in here, and I think we're going to probably touch on inheritance at the very end, because I did say seven and I actually have six. But the last two that we're going to kind of mention that are a little bit of a deeper look are things that I do want to mention. We are very okay circling back on for anyone that wants to reach out about this specifically, because it's a little bit more specified, a little bit more questions you might have on it. So we definitely can do that at another time. But this is really two additional reasons that people really might want to think about life insurance depending on their situation. One is for business planning purposes, and the other is for building cash value. So let's touch on those for just a sec.
yeah, absolutely. And again, guys, yeah, these are two totally separate topics and they could be books all in and of themselves. So if you have additional questions on these, because we're doing a very high level touch on them, please reach out. We would be more than happy to discuss it further with you and explain it if you'd like. But as far as business planning goes, if you own a business, it is so important that you have life insurance. You have obligations as a business owner, you have liabilities. And so you don't want all of that hard work that you've done with the business to go to waste. Additionally, if you're involved in a partnership with someone, you should both have coverage. You want to make sure that just because something happens to one of you, there's not financial ruin in the cards for the other person or for the business. So you don't want to leave anyone holding the financial bag for your business in the event of your death. So there are lots of ways to protect your business and kind of put that business planning into place through life insurance.
Absolutely. That's huge. So those of you that are business owners, if you haven't already looked into that, or Keyman Insurance or anything in that way, definitely let us know if you have questions on that. But, another area, and it's funny, Steph, before I got into insurance, I literally only thought of life insurance as, okay, it's something where if I die, my family gets paid. And that's really all I really knew about it before I got into business. And more and more people understand this now, that the building of cash value and viewing life insurance as something beyond just if you die, you get paid for the family is so important. And, I think that in a very basic sense, and we'll probably do additional kind of, overviews on this. A lot of times we talk about really two general areas of life insurance. We talk about, term, just term life insurance, and permanent life insurance. And when you're looking at term, there's reason for it. There's a purpose for it. And it's really to serve a lot of those areas that we talked about, which was the idea about burial costs and leaving something for your family, or knowing, but it is in those set terms that we have those lengths of time that you're covered. And permanent life insurance is where we really start to look at having some of these options where you can view it as really investing in cash value for yourself and putting money aside and being able to have something that, whether it's something that you in an emergency might need down the line, where you say, okay, I have this money that has grown for me over here that I can pull from, God forbid if something happens, I have it there. Or it's a way to say, I have this life insurance where in some ways, if I was to pass away, we have life insurance there, but we also have this growing asset of cash value. And so looking at permanent policies are great. We tell a lot of our clients there's a reason for everything. There's a reason for term and there's a reason for perm. And so we talk about that. But that's huge. And, I did say, when we were talking about this stuff, I did say seven and I had listed six, but I think leave-in inheritance was kind of what I had floating around there. And so I think leave-in inheritance definitely is sort of obviously something people think about, but so that we don't
Yeah.
stop at six, we'll just throw that one on there right now.
There you go. And just so everybody is clear, we do not advocate for term over perm or one versus the other. Like Katie said, there's a use for both of those. And we really do, for the most part, recommend really creating a holistic picture with your life insurance and finding a way to incorporate those different products
Mhm.
into helping with your needs. So that's really cool. And be sure, guys, like I said, you don't have to pick one over the other. They work really, really well together.
Absolutely. No, that's good. And I think the more people think about this sort of stuff and think about planning or the future, I think the better it is. Steph, how many times we talk to someone who has, they say, "Oh, I have life insurance through my work," and don't realize that that is, not necessarily portable, or, there's a lot of things to think about. And so we want to let you know that if you need a resource, or someone local, we could definitely refer you. But it's something where it's very important to think about. So I think that's a good thing for
Yes,
us to ponder a bit on a Friday. So that's what I'm thinking.
absolutely. Yeah. And if anybody has any questions, feel free to reach out to us. If you'd like us to expound on anything, we can do that too. And we will be putting some links in the comments for you guys to help you out with some additional information, or if you would like to further explore any of that.
Absolutely.
And I think that's it, Katie. Is that our whole You Need Life Insurance show?
That's
This is your
right.
reminder.
That's
Everyone.
right. PSA for everybody. Absolutely. And I think, is it next week that is Earth Day? Did we figure that out? I'm trying to remember. I know it's also
It
birthday week.
is. Next week is Earth Day. Yes, it is. And so please, everybody, join us next Friday as we talk about some of the most eco and earth friendly companies around and what they're doing to maintain that status.
Absolutely. I love it. Well, happy Friday to everybody. Happy Friday, Steph.
Happy Friday, Katie. Happy
Happy Friday.
Friday, everybody.
Have a good weekend.
Next week.